Cutback for Vasilev, and Lukic! A banger of a strike for Jovan Lukic's first MLS goal!
It's fallen out to Westfield! Oh, wow! He's nearly taken the roof of the net off! Philadelphia pounce again!
Who gets his goal in his Union debut? The record signing, off and running in his first appearance for the club.
Hello and welcome to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd and Jose. I can't believe it. 15 games in, we're here. We're finally here. The MLS break due to the World Cup starting in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. 2.5 weeks, something. I know it's coming so quick, Jose. So quick. I can't believe we're here. And it does feel a little bit shocking that there doesn't seem to be a buzz around the World Cup, even though it's so close to kicking off. But yeah, the first half of the MLS season, Jose, has come to an end, and Inter Miami and Philadelphia Union played to such a thrilling game, a game that I don't think anybody was expecting. Bradley Carnell said in his opening statement that, nobody had that type of game. And 6-4 final into Miami, who had the Union scoring yet again 3 or more goals on the road. They do it for the third time in the last 4 road games and can only pick up a point, Jose. Only a point in those 3 games that they score 3 or more goals, which is insane. You would expect a team that scores multiple goals on the road would go and at least get a couple more points. Does not happen with the Philadelphia Union as they fall to Inter Miami 6-4. But how are you doing, Jose, on this Memorial Day evening?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm doing well. I have family in town. My aunt and uncle, my wife's aunt and uncle, I consider my aunt and uncle from knowing them for so long. So just, hanging around the house, getting that extra bit of rest before a busy week. In my other side of the world, I have a very busy weekend with alumni weekend for the college I work at. So that means, Thursday getting there at 9 a.m. and leaving at nearly probably 11:30 and having to drive home and rinse, repeat Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and fortunately not Sunday. So it's kind of nice that the Union and MLS go into this break with no games to watch, but I think a lot to potentially look out for, right? And in terms of what might be coming down the line and I'm sure we'll talk about Carnell's comments throughout the press conference, but a welcome break, I think, all things considered, and still feels weird that the buzz for the biggest tournament in the world, it's still sort of, just starting to percolate. I don't know what it's about, but it feels slower than previous World Cups for sure.
Does it feel surreal, Jose, that you're going to be at this event covering it? I mean, I don't know if it's hit you yet. I mean, not trying to just explode your head, but seeing your eyes, only a couple years covering the Philadelphia Union and seeing all the opportunities that you got, and now this is arguably the biggest opportunity anybody in the world of soccer could get, covering a World Cup, and it's going to be in our backyard, and you'll be at multiple matches for MLS. I mean, it's got to feel so surreal to you.
Yeah, it feels good. It hasn't hit me, I must admit. I think it will once I'm there, and thinking about my late brother, and I remember when the World Cup was announced, and him actually even on the spot creating a separate bank account where he was throwing money into it to make sure that he could make a few games, and of course that isn't going to happen. But nonetheless, I'm happy, I'm proud, I'm excited. So we'll see, man. I'm hopeful that it goes smoothly, but with how things went with the Club World Cup, I'm intrigued to say the least. But no, it hasn't hit me.
Yeah, I don't know why I just heard the intro going in the back, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting World Cup for sure. I saw some predictor apparently that's predicted the last 3 World Cup winners has Netherlands winning. I feel like that's pretty optimistic. So we'll see if he goes 4 for 4 in his last 3 World Cups he hit. Let's see if he goes 4 for 4 with this one. But yeah, super excited to have the World Cup, and we'll figure out what we do during the break. I know we had talked about having potential former players, maybe former coaches on the podcast, and
Yes.
yeah, trying to keep it Philadelphia Union centric. But yeah, I'm sure we'll find ways to talk about the U.S. national team and just the World Cup in Philadelphia and the World Cup in general. But we actually do have some news, Jose, before we talk about last night's game. I feel like we haven't really had anything to talk about, or maybe that's been super newsworthy like what we're about to talk about. So let's get straight into the news. All right, so the two bits of news that I want to talk about kind of go hand in hand. Danley Jean Jacques officially named into the Haiti national team. Haiti, the first three games of the World Cup will be June 13th against Scotland at 9 p.m., followed by Brazil versus Haiti in Philadelphia, June 19th at 8:30 p.m., and then they have their final match on June 24th against Morocco at 6 p.m. A huge honor for Danley Jean Jacques. This is not surprising to any of us. We all expected Danley to be announced to the World Cup with Haiti, and that game, Jose, in his home state with his home club against Brazil. That's a huge opportunity. And we knew Neymar gets named, maybe controversially, to the Brazil final squad. Carlo Ancelotti decides to take Neymar, who's struggled with injuries the last couple of years. And wow, what a moment that would be for Danley Jean Jacques to face off against the Brazilian great and Neymar potentially in Philadelphia.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, the entire thing is such an incredible story when you think about Haiti's qualification route, right? A team that I think the entire qualification did not even really play at home due to the gang violence and not really having a stadium, having to borrow from other countries near them to be able to play some of these home matches. So for Danley to get to play not just for his country, but also do it in Philadelphia is really, really cool. And I wonder if I genuinely was on pins and needles every time he went onto the ground yesterday, thinking, oh, please tell me he didn't just, do something to his leg, the way that it feels like these last couple of weeks and certainly, the last 48 hours, I feel like I've seen players from different countries just having all of these potential injuries just pop up and knees pop, ligaments just blow out. It's scary time right now. So happy for Danley, happy that he'll be in Philadelphia, and I'm intrigued to see how he performs against a team like Brazil. It could be honestly the last bit he needs to add to his CV to get the highest value possible out of Philadelphia, or Philadelphia get the highest value possible from whoever wants him. I'm sure there's plenty.
Yeah, and especially that game against Brazil, Jose. If he performs against Brazil, he's gone. Like there's no way to sugarcoat it. We know what World Cups do for players. We know what international tournaments do for players. If you perform during these international tournaments, more times than not, you wind up leaving your club to go to bigger clubs. I always remember James Rodriguez leaving Porto to go to Real Madrid. I don't know if he ever hit the heights that was expected of him when he left Porto, but he always performs, it seems like, with Colombia at the World Cup. Once again, going with Colombia at the World Cup, who should be one of the favorites, Jose. I mean, Luis Diaz has been in fine form with Bayern Munich. Of course, James always performs with Colombia at the World Cup. So it should be an interesting tournament for the Colombians. But what I think is the most interesting, maybe, Jose, out of all of this World Cup news that we got is Olwethu Makhanya named to South Africa's preliminary squad. I don't think anybody saw this coming. We know Hugo Bruce, the manager, the Belgian manager, coaching Bafana, is not a fan of MLS. He's been very vocal about Bakazi leaving South Africa, going to Chicago Fire. And we talked about it, gave it blunder of the week, maybe blunder of the year for his comments about Bakazi's agent, about MLS. Not a great situation whatsoever. And here's Makhanya being named to the final 32-player preliminary squad for for South Africa's team. The South Africans held a camp in Johannesburg today on Monday 25th with players that are out of country arriving to the camp tomorrow. And so, yeah, we don't know if Makhanya, since he didn't play last night, was Makhanya given the okay to fly to South Africa ahead of time to make an early impression with Hugo Bruce. Makhanya, we know, had a fantastic season last year with the Philadelphia Union. Maybe not so much so far this season in MLS, but Jose, huge honor for him to be named to this roster. We'll see if he winds up making the final list, but this would be fantastic if Makhanya can make it.
Yeah, it would be massive for him. And I think Bradley said it best, an honor, but an honor that's coming a little too late. He was in the preliminary squad before this one, if I recall. But the fact that he hasn't been in an actual camp yet in his career would make this a very, very difficult ask for him to, I guess, I can't remember. Was it 30? How many he called in? 36, and they're going to get rid of 6. So they called in 32, and they're going to get rid of, move on from 6 players for the final 26 with a match on the 29th against Nicaragua. So should Makhanya stick around for that and go to the World Cup, that would be an unbelievable development. The half-empty person in me thinks that this is just, it's an honor, but it's not going to pan out to what I think he would want and many others would want. But happy for him. Kind of funny to see Hugo Bruce go ahead and berate MLS, and suddenly 2 of his defenders in that preliminary list, are MLS players. Never mind a third. I think that's also in there. That's an MLS player, if I recall correctly. So nonetheless, I hope the best for him. I have a very hard time seeing him sneaking into a World Cup roster, but maybe he does. Who knows, man? I'm another player that, if you bestow this honor and somehow sees minutes in the World Cup, would be massive for his valuation for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And don't forget, Makhanya's out of contract after this season, I believe it is, Jose. Because I think he was the one, I think, that we had questions about. No, he had an option for 2027, but we weren't sure if that includes the shortened season or the actual 2028-2029 season. We weren't sure how that was going to work, because I think you had asked a comment from the club, and the club, when you asked, I don't think they were quite sure either, Jose.
I don't recall. I don't want to get myself in trouble or get others in trouble by making them look bad, but I sense that it is really the calendar year 2027. So should that be the case, he would play the sprint season and then be a free agent come January, which actually kind of lines up with a lot of other contracts that you see across the world. Not the most common, but certainly seeing some free agents in the January market wouldn't be the worst thing for him. And if I were him, I wouldn't sign a damn thing. Just play it out at this point. What do you care?
Yeah, you talk about trying to get max value. If he goes to the World Cup with South Africa, plays a game or two, plays well, yeah, he's probably gone, unfortunately, in the summertime too. But I do want to bring up the games for South Africa in case Makhanya makes it. So we do know that they are going back, Bafana, to the World Cup for the first time since 2010, once they hosted it. And oddly enough, Jose, they play against Mexico, which was also the opening game in the 2010 World Cup on June 11th, 3 p.m., Mexico, South Africa. And then they have the Czech Republic on June 18th, and then South Korea on June 24th. And I also want to bring up the World Cup dates in Philadelphia, in case you guys have been living under a rock, in case you guys weren't aware of the 6 games when they are taking place in Philadelphia. And so match 9 in the tournament is on Sunday, June 14th at 7 p.m. between the Ivory Coast and Ecuador. And then match 29, Friday, June 19th, 2026, 8:30 p.m. Brazil, Haiti. I mentioned that a little bit ago. And then you have match 42, June 22nd on Monday at 5 p.m. France, Iraq. Huge game there, Jose, with Kylian Mbappe coming to Philadelphia. Then match 55, June 25th, Thursday, 4 p.m. You have Carousel versus Ivory Coast. And then match 68th, where we get the Croatian national team versus Ghana at 5 p.m. on Saturday, June 27th. And then we get the round of 16 game, Jose. July 4th game at 5 p.m. Match 89. The game I think a lot of people are looking forward to, July 4th. Don't know who's playing yet, but yeah, that should be an interesting time. And looking forward to the World Cup being here in America. Looking forward to the World Cup being in Philadelphia. But Jose, I don't know if you guys, I didn't know about these rumors. I don't know if you saw anything. I've been pretty busy today, Jose. People are saying, what about Lukic? Lukic transfer rumors for Leeds and Celta Vigo in La Liga. T-Mac says, have Leeds or Celta Vigo watch Lukic play this year or just the 2025 highlights? Now, I did not realize that he was linked to either one of those clubs, but I saw there's an article about 11 hours ago with reports out of Italy from journalist Lorenzo Lapore reporting that Leeds United and Celta Vigo are interested in signing Jovan Lukic. Now, Celta, they can offer European football to Jovan Lukic, where Leeds United cannot. Now, this isn't the first time that Leeds United have been linked with a former Philadelphia Union player. Don't forget, they were linked with Kai Wagner back in the day. A deal never happened. There was interest. Kai told us when we had him on the show back in January, but nothing ever came of it. And then Brendan Aronson obviously plays for Leeds United. Brendan and Jovan have never played with each other, but it seems pretty clear that Leeds United are keeping an eye on Jovan Lukic. And so you and I have said it so many times, Jose, this year that we expect Danley Jean Jacques to be sold this summer. Okay, that's going to hurt, but you have Jesus Bueno who can slot in. But if you lose both starting defensive midfielders this transfer window, you got to go out and do something, in my opinion. But yeah, Jovan, fantastic season last year for the Union. Maybe not so much this season, but I think it would be a well-deserved honor for Jovan to go back to Europe to play in a bigger league than in some of the leagues that he's played in the past.
Yeah. I think him getting to Celta Vigo would probably make the most sense. I personally know nothing. I saw the reports, and as soon as I saw that it was from Italy, I kind of got turned off right away. Because I feel like that's the machine that's always going. There's always some sort of rumor out of there about teams in a completely different part of that continent. So, if it was an Italian site telling me that Inter Milan or AC Milan or for God goodness sake, Como were interested, I would believe it a little bit more than seeing an Italian outlet reporting that an English or a Spanish team are interested in him. So I would say, though, that I see the comments about that they see him play in 2025. It's a good point, but what I will say is that I'm sorry, have they seen him play this year versus last year? Things are so different this year than last year that you kind of this short 15 game stint that he's in, maybe rut if you want to call it that, you kind of throw that out the window and you see just how good he was last year with the pieces that were in Philadelphia, and you slot him in probably much better players out in Spain or in England. Makes sense. I have a hard time seeing how his game translates to England, but Spain makes a little bit more sense to me. I know he's pretty chaotic and appreciates and he likes the chaos, but I don't know if he is Premier League chaotic, if that makes a whole lot of sense either.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. It would be a pretty big jump to go from MLS to the Premier League, but don't want to discount the abilities of Jovan Lukic.
Of course.
Talented player for sure. And we'll see what happens. Definitely one to keep an eye on. I'm leaning towards your camp, Jose, where you got reports coming out of Italy linking him to a team in Spain and a team in England. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but maybe it's something I'd look into more, see, what ties this journalist potentially has with either one of the clubs, or maybe with Jovan Lukic or somebody in Jovan Lukic's camp. But let's go ahead, Jose, and talk about last night's thrilling 10-goal game between Philadelphia Union and Inter Miami. This is a game, Jose, where I don't think anybody had the Union up 2-0 and then 3-1. They eventually go down and trail 4-3 before Alaski scores his second penalty of the first half, gets the hat trick after he converts that second penalty. And this is only the third time, Jose, in 15 games, third time that the Union have scored the first goal. Unbelievable, but that's been 2026 for the Philadelphia Union, where last season wasn't really the case. The Union were the team that were scoring first a lot of times. This year, not so much. We see Messi leave in the second half with fatigue. And I thought that was a chance for the Union to push, to capitalize, to take a chance, take advantage of Messi not being on the field, hit into Miami in the counterattack. Didn't really happen. And a few moments later, Suarez scores to make it 5-4, gets his hat trick, and then Rodrigo de Paul scores on the counterattack. Now, spoiler alert, if you guys have read the show description tonight, Jose and I will talk about Bradley Carnell's comments in his opening statement in his press conference last night, expressing frustration with the lack of depth. We'll go ahead and talk about Bradley Carnell's second half of the MLS season. Will he still be here for the Union? What do we think? What does it look like for the Union organization as a whole? We'll talk about Bradley Carnell's second half changes. I know that was a topic of hot discussion on social media. We'll also talk about who Jose and I think are the Union's best players so far in the first 15 games of the MLS season. But Jose, before we get into those topics specifically, anything you want to bring up about the first half that maybe stood out? Anything in the game in general that stood out to you?
Yeah, I continue to be in awe. And I think, I know I posted the clip. I'm guessing you posted the clip too, if I recall, in just the grander picture and the bigger picture of Frankie Westfield in terms of how he just continues to evolve, man. He continues to add to his game. And this is the second or third time that I've seen some pretty key passes from him in open play that he's making. And to make him against Inter Miami, to make him against New England are two very different things. So I'm just very happy that he replicated a nice long through ball against a team like Inter Miami. Now, to the game, I did expect Miami to score quite a bit, and mainly because of the tools that they have and the players that they have, the investments that they got going. But that I expect the Union to keep, toe-to-toe with them and continue to score and play and make it a 4-4 first half. Absolutely not. I give them a lot of credit for that fight, but I think it was quite obvious that after that 4-4, if they weren't going into halftime with a lead of some sort, they were going to resort ultimately to go into some sort of shell and try to ride out a draw in a place that I didn't check the conditions. My guess is, yes, it rained a hell of a lot, but probably very humid, probably pretty warm, that after the stretch that all the MLS teams have had this, as they're trying to get in all the games ahead of the long international break for the World Cup, I just don't know how anybody can expect Philadelphia, considering the depth. And I know that's going to be a topic that we're going to talk about more and more, but whoever really expected for Philadelphia to have it in them to push for another 45 minutes the way that they did during the first half. So all in all, impressed, but disappointed at the same time, considering how well they started. And some of those goals were just, I don't understand how you leave Suarez wide open in the center of the box. I don't know if that was a miscommunication by Westfield and whoever else was there. I'm guessing at the time it was Gaynor and Nate who sort of left the middle of the box wide open. I also have a hard time, feeling too great about a 93rd minute, not even breakaway, just dead legs, right? Just completely gone and leaving Andre Blake to fend for himself. So I've been rambling and I apologize for that, but entertaining for neutrals, for coaches and others that know ball a lot better than probably you and I do, probably a nightmare to watch considering how poor defense was. But all in all, I think everybody, including Bradley Carnell, are just thrilled that there's a long break between now and July 22nd. Is that the next game?
Yeah, July 22nd. Yeah.
July 22nd, when Red Bull on a Wednesday come to town.
Yeah, which is so weird that they play Red Bull on a Wednesday, but
yes.
I guess where I'll pick up where you left off, talking about Frankie Westfield, and I'm sure we'll talk about Frankie more at the end. I'm sure to you and I, people in the comment section, I'm sure a lot of people would agree that Frankie has been one of the best Union players in the first 15 games of the season, continues to pick up where he left off last season. And I don't have anything negative to say about Frankie Westfield. It's all positive. And this kid continues to surprise me. It seems like he gets better and better, and he offers you so much in the attack. Defensively, I think he's good too. But let's not forget, Jose, the first goal in this game, it's Frankie Westfield playing the ball over the top. And then, it's the header from Frankie Westfield into Olaski, and then he's the one who played the ball over the top for Olaski that got the penalty. He's a player that's always thinking to go for it. And I remember Bradley Carnell saying, yeah, we like both fullbacks, Nathan Harriel and Frankie Westfield, but Frankie gives us something a little bit different on the right side of the field than what Nathan Harriel gives us. And that was kind of the thinking why they played Ben Bender at left back, because now they feel like the attack was even or both sides. Not to take away anything from Frankie Westfield, or from Nathan Harriel, but Frankie seems to be the better attacker. Whips in a great ball when the Union are crossing the ball into the box. Does so well going up and down the touchline. Does so well to attack the space, to find the space. And I've been impressed too this season too, watching Nate find that space too a little bit more. I feel like he's had so many times to get a goal this season in MLS, but it's been unfortunate not to get at least a goal this season. But Frankie's been fantastic and played a vital role in that first half, Jose, going down the right side of the field. Good?
No, what I wonder after this, and sure, there's a long break. I was shocked that, just reminding myself, played 83 minutes. That's a lot of minutes for a guy that was about to not even play because of his hip, right? Or whatever was going on with him. So yep. I do wonder, and I know this was not part of the line of questioning in the post-match press conference, and it's probably hard to tell immediately after the game, but I wonder how he's feeling playing 83 minutes of pretty hard soccer in a slippery surface and having to play against top, probably the top talent in the league.
Yep.
I wonder if there was any follow-up or anything for his hip. Ultimately, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but it matters, right? You don't want to have this be a problem that continues throughout the season. So I do wonder what the Union staff would have to say about his hip and the health of it after a match like that.
But I also think too, Jose, that the players know, like, if you're going to play a game, it's the games against Inter Miami that you want to play it. Because you know people all over the world are watching these games. You know scouts all over the world are watching just to see Messi. And if they so happen to come across an intriguing player on the opposition, then maybe that leads to an opportunity to a club around the world. So, again, obviously, Frankie Westfield was healthy enough to play 82, 83 minutes in this game, played well. We'll talk about the changes in the second half here in a bit. But yeah, Frankie just continues to impress. And there's a comment here from Wolfie, and I want to see if I can find it. He said, the attack looked way better without Indiana Vasilev, who Bradley Carnell had told us on Friday had a head injury of some sort. Questionable if he would be available for this game or not. was not available. The Union were actually shorthanded on the bench. We heard from Carnell saying that Jesus Bueno would be out for this game, was on the bench. We saw him on the broadcast, was there. Malik Jakupovic was not with Union 2. Expected him to be with the first team, was not on the bench. And so that left the Union a little short on the bench against Inter Miami. And they definitely could have used Malik, I feel like. Don't know a result with that. Again, didn't ask time and place for the question. Didn't think last night was the right time or place as Bradley Carnell where Malik was with just the way that game unfolded. But I do agree, Wolfie. I thought the attack looked more fluid. Definitely a back and forth game where, I think at times maybe it was a little too chaotic for the Union. As Bradley Carnell put it in his press conference, the Union had more opportunity to score more than 4 goals, Jose. Anello had 2 clear-cut chances. That huge chance from Martinez right in front of Dane St. Clair. Ball played in by Anello, kicks it right at Dane St. Clair. Union could have went in at halftime up 5-4. Unfortunately, can't convert any of those chances, which is crazy to say. The Union converted 4 chances in the first half, Jose. They could have had more, should have converted more. Dane St. Clair, I thought, was horrible for Inter Miami on the night. But all in all, the Union pushed. They gave it everything in the first half, and once the second half happens, it's when everything seemed to fall apart, in my opinion. To your point about the goal that Suarez scored, or I would say any of the goals, Jose. I mean, if you go and watch, the very first goal, and I don't know if you have went back and watched these plays, but the very first goal that Miami scores with Berterame, the Union have a chance to stop this play in the midfield. Danley has a poor pass to Jovan Lukic. It gets cut out, and then Jovan wins the ball back, slide tackles, but it falls right into Miami. And then Van Bender obviously takes that awkward touch, falls to Messi, and then it's a tap in for Berterame. But we've seen this so many times this season, Jose. Just simple defensive mistakes from the Union, whether it be in the midfield, whether it be defensively. They get hit on the counterattack twice in the second half of this game. It's just unorganized in the midfield. The midfield maybe gets overloaded at times, and it makes the defense go and panic and step out of position, and now your defense is out of position, and you lose your mark inside the box, and a high-quality team like Inter Miami is going to punish you. Don't want to take anything away from Inter Miami, but multiple times, again, Jose, on the night, it's poor defensive mistakes, the Union forcing those mistakes amongst themselves, where you win the ball back in the midfield. You track your runners. Maybe Miami doesn't get some chances, and I get it right. Messi had a chance in this first half where he hits the ball wide. You expect Messi to find the back of the net when he's within 18 yards. Somehow misses the post. But this is a game, Jose, where we've said it so many times in the first half of the season. Mistake after mistake after mistake from the Union, and it happens once again.
Yeah, they just kind of snowball, right? In terms of these missed opportunities. First and foremost, I don't subscribe to calling Agustin Anello Augie like Carnell does. What a goofy nickname. But, if that's what he wants to be called, that's what he wants to be called. But you're absolutely right. Anello had that opportunity where he hits it right at St. Clair, too, as he was breaking away on the left side. The Gainer Martinez was just another, I can't believe that didn't go in type of moment, the way that Bruno has had throughout his stay at Philadelphia. But if we're looking for positives, right, of what did go right, because we could spend another 25, 30 minutes talking about the defensive mistakes. I guess it's probably worth shouting out, and I know we're going to talk about the bright spots of this half point of the season, but let's just kind of focus at the micro level at this game specifically. Gavin Sullivan continuing to just toy around a little bit with adults, right? In terms of, I believe it led to, I guess, was it Bruno's goal where he slid?
Yep.
Yeah, where Gavin
gets his first goal of the season. Shout out to Bruno. Yeah. Finally gets a goal.
Yeah. So he took the ball from left to right, eventually getting it all the way to Frankie. And shout out Frankie. Wet field, raining. I don't know if it was raining at the time yet, but certainly a wet field because it's Florida and they water that thing. low and hard across. And what happens? Bruno Damiani is there to just tap it in, which I hate to say, I was fully expecting to somehow have it go over the post or hit a keeper or something. So good for him to get his first goal. But, it's again, the young guys sort of maybe outplaying the way that they should at their age and at their level. But maybe that's gone now, right? Kevin Sullivan is a different type of player for sure. And Frankie Westfield, I would sense, is taking a different role in this team as probably a leader, considering the way that he's performing, right? Maybe he's taking ownership of the opportunity that he has in a team that feels a little rudderless at the moment. Maybe he's harnessing and taking over and just making sure that it's known that, yes, he's young. Yes, his story is incredible, as Jillian reminded us at some point here on the chat of, being moments away from, maybe not moments, but weeks away from going to Penn State to play, instead opting to join LeBlanc and the Union organization with Union 2, and eventually getting to the spot where he's playing against the very best in MLS and sharing a field with Lionel Messi. So I just got to commend those two for just a really good game and what was likely not a whole lot of good defensively. And yes, Frankie was, as I'm looking at, and of course it never tells the full tale. Yeah. Frankie Westfield was the only defender that's not having a really poor rating on FOTMob.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that back line, really, really bad. A makeshift back line. But, yes. Jose, let's go ahead and talk about Bradley Carnell's opening statement, which he was clearly frustrated in his opening statement, talking about the lack of depth. And we'll play the clip in case people didn't hear it, which is so weird, too, because I went back and watched, and I'll go back and watch the press conferences on YouTube. And I don't know what's happening now with the Union broadcasting the press conferences, but the first 20 seconds seem to get cut off on YouTube from when the press conference starts. And so I am glad that I joined on Zoom yesterday, asked the question, recorded the whole press conference, and had this full opening clip from Bradley Carnell, because I think you really need the whole context from Bradley Carnell from the start, complaining about, we didn't expect a tennis score line here in the first half, 4-4, and then overall 6-4. But Bradley Carnell mentions twice, Jose, in his first 52 seconds talking to the media about the squad depth lacking. And so here's Bradley Carnell in his opening statement to the media after the Philadelphia Union Inter Miami match.
Don't think anyone was expecting a tennis score line here tonight, and the way we started the game. I thought we were excellent, and shows what we can do within the principles and within the philosophy, and really frustrate them and show the good side to our game model. And then unfortunately we have to show and flip the script to show exactly where the struggles are this season, in terms of our depth, in terms of our quality, in the final stages of the game. And we kind of just fell off, and guys dug deep in the first half, battled their way through, and I thought we took our goals, and you can never shut them down. They've shown that the games have been wild. Just wish we could have kept it tighter in certain moments, but everyone dug deep, and I'm just sorry for the end of the game. The guys didn't deserve that. We expect more to close out the game. Everyone digging deep, and we'll lack the depth and the quality at the end of the game.
And so twice there, Jose, Bradley Carnell talks about lacking the depth. Now, I know there's a lot of new people listening to this podcast that have maybe only been around for a couple seasons. Maybe you guys just got into the team last season after the Union won the Supporters Shield. So I do want to give full context. This is not the first time we have heard somebody in the Union organization complain about the lack of depth. But this is the very first time we've heard it from Bradley Carnell. 15 games in the season, and it seems like Bradley Carnell maybe has hit a breaking point. And I saw the comment, Wolfie. I'll bring it up here. You have your speculations, who you think Bradley Carnell was talking about. I took it as maybe Bradley Carnell talking about the team as a whole, the players that they brought in as a whole in the second half compared to who Inter Miami brought on. But Wolfie says I think Bradley definitely hit a wall last night, spent a lot of time defending his players. It was obvious who he was talking about. Alado is who Woofy believes that Bradley Carnell was talking about. And we can go ahead and talk about Alado here in a bit because I do have thoughts on him. But like I said, very first time that we've heard Bradley Carnell complain about the lack of depth. Wasn't the first time that former head coach Jim Curtin has talked about this. Jim Curtin, he complained about the lack of depth and multiple times comparing to New York City. It seemed like every time the Union played New York City, Jose, I'll never forget a playoff game it was. He's talking about Tallis Magno coming off the bench, and who did the Union have coming off the bench, and millions of dollars that New York City had spent. And the Union didn't have that luxury of that type of player coming off the bench. Said something similar too against LAFC with Gareth Bale coming off the bench. I mean, the Union bring in Corey Burke. No offense to Corey Burke, but he is no Gareth Bale. And that was the Union's big difference maker off the bench against LAFC. But we've also heard players, Jose, complain about the lack of depth, lack of spending. You've got Kai Wagner multiple times when he was here in Philadelphia to go on record complaining about the young players. That's not enough, that they need more experienced players. Alejandro Bedoya has won on record multiple times talking about the lack of depth. Andre Blake has won on record talking about the lack of depth over the years in Philadelphia. Now, nothing from Bedoya or Blake in terms of lack of depth this season. I'm sure maybe those conversations behind the closed doors are a little bit different. I'm sure they're letting their voices be heard. But this is the very first time, Jose, from Bradley Carnell. And I think he has every right to be frustrated. I personally do, Jose. When you look at the context of everything with Bradley Carnell, especially with what he's been through in St. Louis City, it is insane to me. And everybody loves to compare Bradley Carnell's second season in St. Louis compared to his second season in Philadelphia. Both clubs got rid of key players. You saw John Nelson, a left back, leave to LA Galaxy. You had Jared Stroud, Lucas Bartlett leaving, getting traded to DC United. You had Nicholas Gioacchini getting sold to Como, the leading goal scorer for St. Louis City. Sold, traded to Italy. 4 key players for Bradley Carnell. And what happens? The Union sell 3 key players in Ty Baribo, Jacob Lesnes, and Kai Wagner. Mikal Uwe leaves on a free. If you're Bradley Carnell, I'm pissed. I'm thinking to myself, why is this happening again? Completely different club. And Carnell too, right? I'm sure he knows coming into Philadelphia compared to any team that he ever had in St. Louis City, his very first season in Philadelphia, you know that he's thinking, this is a lot better team, a well put together team compared to whatever I had in St. Louis City. Yes, he won the Western Conference regular season, his very first season in St. Louis in their debut year. But the Union's team last year is so much better than whatever Bradley Carnell had during his time in St. Louis City. And now here he is once again. Key players gone, moved on. And I saw this comment right here. It says from Super Hades, says, and what happened when Curtin complained? You're right. Eventually let go. Eventually moved on by Ernst Tanner after the end of the season. Does the same thing happen to Bradley Carnell? What could potentially be Bradley Carnell's very last press conference with the Philadelphia Union? If that is your last press conference, or he goes out letting people know how he feels about the lack of depth of this squad. Now, if he's still around come the second half of the MLS season, again, neither one of us know. Nothing's been reported yet. We did see that Phil Neville let go, mutually agreed to part ways with Portland Timbers. I believe the 5th MLS manager now this season, Jose, to be gone. Every single manager that has left their club's been gotten rid of, have better records than the Philadelphia Union. I'm sure we'll talk about Carnell a lot. I just put out an article earlier this afternoon talking about why I don't think Bradley Carnell should be let go. He has every reason to see out the rest of his contract. But my goodness, Jose, if Carnell is still here in the second half of the season and still complaining about the lack of depth, will upper management listen to those complaints, knowing that you had a former manager in Jim Curtin echo the same statements? You've had players in the past echo the same statements. Will somebody finally take action? But again, I know I went on a 10-minute rant there, Jose. I do apologize. But all that to say, Carnell, very frustrated.
As they say, talk that shit right now, Todd. Talk that. No, I think it's fascinating, right? When you try to compare St. Louis to and Philadelphia to second year, a lot of parallels, right? And parallels that Bradley Carnell is probably waking up now and thinking, "Oh my God, this is that nightmare all over again." And St. Louis took them to. Was it a conference semifinal or a conference final that first year?
I believe they got knocked out the very first game against Sporting Kansas City.
Oh, no. You're right. They weren't. They were hot on the trail for the Supporters' Shield, though. They did pretty well that first year, like really, really well. I remember it was kind of like a shocker surprise of how good Bradley Carnell did that first year. Unless I'm just making up stuff right now. But
let's
I
look
thought
it
that
up. 56 points St. Louis City had in 2023, and then Cincinnati had 69 points.
Okay, so they weren't that high, but they were pretty good for an expansion team, right?
Yeah,
like
it was the hottest start ever for an expansion side up until San Diego last season.
Right. So, yes, you're right. A much better roster last year than he ever handled while in St. Louis, and probably likely that he ever was involved with in New York as well, or pretty close to it.
100%.
So from rags to riches, maybe in terms of player personnel. Facilities maybe a little different because of Energizer Park out in St. Louis. It looks very, very pretty. It looks beautiful. What I do wonder is and he, I think, is filling in a lot of the gaps that you and I and others in our orbit have been thinking about, right? Finally saying the depth that's an issue, right? That camera shot yesterday is so obvious. And I take Andrew Rick aside, who I think, and congratulations, I can confirm he is going as a practice goalkeeper to the World Cup. I can confirm that. Not that you need it because where it came from, but I can confirm that. So congratulations to him. Take Andrew Rick aside from that bench shot, right? That's not inspiring. And all due respect to Raffanello and Jesus Bueno and all these other guys, right? That they can come and pull some weight, but it's not the weight that other teams have to bring off the bench. And Alado being the biggest, I hate to call it dead weight because I want him to succeed. And based on everything I heard about the guy in terms of his background and who he was coached by and what he brings and watching film, etc. Like he should have been, or should be, a much better player. I mentioned it during last night's post-game show with Mike Barrera and AAT. Todd, you hopped in right before I left, so I'm not sure if I said it in front of you, but you can tell that there's some not issue, but like everything that wasn't going right with Alado. Immediately Iloski is just, the body language is so poor. So there's something going on there. But back to Carnell, he's filling in the gaps of, when you take away players that have been around the block, I think was the quote, right? Have been around the block one or two times. And you see this gulf, this gap in between the talent of a youngster versus the talent of a player who has won multiple Defender of the Years for MLS, right? And Glesnes. And sure, you try to put in a Sari Larson, but unfortunately he's been injured and not playing and maybe still adapting to what the American game is versus where he was before. There's this gap to trying to guide an Olwethu Makhanya. You have an Alado maybe not having a Ty Baribo to show him the ropes the way that Ty Baribo had I guess a Julian Carranza and some other players around to show him how to, get going in MLS. So all that to say that should that be Bradley's last press conference, it was, I think if you read between the lines and based on what I hear behind the scenes, and I certainly share it with you, I share it with Mike Barrera and some others, like he really filled in a lot of the gaps of maybe there's some shortcomings here. And I was also, or I guess I noticed, he keeps on harping back to the system and the play model and the not mechanics. What's the word? It's a word that he keeps on using, but the philosophy. Thank you. Just not there, which reminds me of the Ernst Tanner thing, right? Where at one point he said about Jim, we moved away from our play system, from our mechanics, our philosophy, our system. Thank you, Val. I know she's watching in a little bit of a delay compared to you and I being live and staring at each other at this time. So again, to have Bradley say it out loud on the record, second time really, because I was still shocked the first time in the pre-match. Just kind of in awe that was on the record. Something that maybe we would have heard by showing up to practice or something along the lines of that, but nope, he let it rip in person. And again, I know we're going to talk about it maybe immediately now. This is a good segue, but whatever this decision in due course and guidance in due course, June 1st being obviously this pivotal date for the team and the organization. Dude, I have circled May 1st and I'm sorry, June 1st, May 31st, and June 2nd for some sort of press release to, reloading F5 my Gmail nonstop to see what comes out on the press, or, much like the US roster, some sort of leak about what is going to be coming down the line. But just a lot, man. Just so much going on.
Yeah, a lot going on for sure, Jose. And this would obviously be a good segment to go into, because we are going to play that clip. But the other point that I want to touch on is a lot of people on social media, Jose, were really upset with the second half changes for Bradley Carnell. But I'm not seeing the frustration. And yes, I see people saying, well, Anello should have been left on a little bit longer. Kevin Sullivan should have been left on for a little bit longer. But I don't want to take away just the hot humidity, the tiredness. I mean, these players, like Jose, I literally could see it being in Orlando, that these players gave everything in Orlando when it was extremely hot and humid. They emptied the tank to fight back and crawl back into that game. And they did exactly that in the first half. And granted, I wasn't in Miami, but I feel like you could see that on the TV. It was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that's a lot of wear and tear on your body. And yes, I know the Union can thrive in that chaos. The Union have quality to go back and forth. We saw it with 4 goals scored last night. But my goodness, Jose, when you put in that much energy, it's going to take a toll on your body. And you look at the stats, Jose. 14 shots, 8 of them on target in the first half for the Union. Compared to the second half, 7 shots, only 2 on target. If the Union could have played with that same intensity in the second half, with Messi coming off, I think the Union could have came away with 3 points. Now, granted, I know Miami hit the post, hit the crossbar once or twice in the second half, and the Union caught a break. But the Union,
but so did Miami.
Yeah.
Miami caught a break too. Yeah, right. With Aneo and Gainer Martinez. So it's tit for tat.
That's true. Maybe it equals itself out. Miami could have went into the half down by multiple goals. You're absolutely right. So maybe it crosses each other out. But I think you could tell the difference that the players didn't have much more to give in that second half. And so people are upset with the changes that Carnell makes. You didn't have many offensive options on the bench last night, Jose. Alado and Jeremy Raffanello, and maybe Alejandro Bedoya you can consider attack-minded. But he doesn't have the legs that those 2 guys that I just mentioned have. No offense to Bedoya. But Alado is your only natural striker on the bench. And you bring him in first in the 57th minute for Anello. And then Bedoya for Sullivan, Raffanello for Martinez in the 65th minute, which moved Jovan Lukic to center back. And I'm going to play this clip because it's so funny, Jose. It is so funny. I know you saw it, but this look when Jeremy Raffanello's giving instructions, Jovan Lukic is like, oh my goodness, like what? I'm going to center back? And I swear, when you see the last second, see if I can get the polls in here correctly. Oh, I can't get it good.
I think
here.
he even let out an F-bomb.
Yeah, exactly. And then it looks like Lukic says there, he's like, what the and just lets it go. Like, are you serious? Like the shock look on Jovan Lukic's face when he's told he's going to center back. I mean, look at him, the face, like he is stunned. And I'm trying to figure this out when these changes are getting made. I'm like, there's no natural center back on the field now with Martinez off. And we hear from Carnell after the game that, yeah, it wasn't really so much because of the yellow card. It's because he did his hamstring in. And Jovan's being told right here in this moment, yeah, you're going in at center back. And he is shocked. And I understand that fans are frustrated with the changes. But for me, it's like we see Finn Sundstrom eventually come into this game in the 83rd minute with Felipe Ndinga. Why wasn't Sundstrom moved in at center back there in that moment? That's the one thing I don't understand. And again, you said it last night with Mike on Across the Pitch, where, yeah, last night wasn't a game for LeBlanc to come on and make his debut. And maybe that's why Carnell waited so late to bring in Sundstrom, knowing that this game was maybe a little bit too chaotic for him to enter in that moment when Martinez had to come off. But you talk about a makeshift back line. It gets even more makeshift with Jovan Lukic going back there as a center back. And if you put Finn as a center back, you could put Raffanello or Bedoya as one of the right backs if you eventually want to take off Westfield, which eventually does happen. And then you bring in Ndinga at left back and move Ben Bender farther up the field in the midfield. But I don't know what Carnell was supposed to do. And again, fans are going to say, well, leave Cavan on the field a lot longer than 65 minutes. But did he have the legs to go anymore? And granted, we don't know. But obviously, we know this team loves data. They're tracking in the vests that the players wear during the game. They can tell the fitness levels. They can tell all this health stuff that's being tracked. And maybe the data were saying, yeah, Cavan doesn't have the legs to go anymore. Who knows? But what was Carnell supposed to do when he doesn't have the bench? I mean, let's look at the changes from Inter Miami. Here's David Ashala, Facundo Mora, Matteo Salvetti, Noah Allen, and David Ruiz. 4 out of 5 of those players have MLS experience. Ndinga doesn't really have experience. Sundstrom doesn't really have experience. Alado doesn't have a ton of experience compared to a lot of those guys I just mentioned. Bedoya has experience.
He might go toe-to-toe with some of those guys on red cards.
Yeah, maybe. But I don't know what Carnell was supposed to do. Maybe leave those guys in a little bit longer. But again, without knowing the data, maybe the data was telling them something else. Maybe the heat and the humidity played a factor into those decisions. I would imagine they did. But looking at that bench, what do you do if you're Carnell? You make the offensive changes that you could. And obviously they weren't great. And you know it's a problem when Alejandro Bedoya's outworking Ezekiel Alado. Multiple times, we see Bedoya running more than Alado. We saw the same thing last week with Kevin Sullivan running in front of Alado. Alado not attacking the ball. I don't know, Jose. I don't know what else to say. I really don't.
I think what I will say is that someone, I don't even have the name, but I think as you watch that game, right, especially the second half, and as soon as those substitutes came in, which at that point it was what, was it still 4-4 or 5-4 when some of these substitutes came in, right? 5-4?
Yeah, 5-4.
Or 4, okay. But I thought, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought even at 4-4, the Union were already retreating and kind of just, all right, we're going to go into bend, not break mode here and just try to figure it out. Even in the 80th minute when they have to try to do something, to me, I'm thinking, dude, I don't know, man. Like even from the 50th minute onward, it felt like the Union just were outgassed. just did not have it within them to try to push. And I think it was the clip of Suarez scoring the 5th goal. That play leading into that, and I guess the minutes leading into that, it was totally the Union just, we just don't have energy. We just don't have energy. And I guess we should take a moment to congratulate Kellen LeBlanc on getting that. Yes, it's a short-term contract, whatever, but a kid that that has earned this and frankly has gone very much under the radar when you think about all the different homegrowns that and players that have been, will be homegrowns for Philadelphia. I guess once you are one for life. So you really, that's not really something that works, but really has gone under the radar. So it's tough to think, in this heat and this humidity, and with how crazy that first half was, to find somebody to come in and add that extra boost of energy. And it's not going to be Bedoya. It's not going to be Bueno, who, based on what we knew 24 hours before, was not even really supposed to play the game or unlikely to play the game. But, there he is smiling on the bench, which is a different question altogether. I don't know, man. This is the depth thing, and Carnell obviously going on the record. I don't know. I keep on seeing the question here on the side about Cavan being substituted. I don't know. I guess he probably has international duty coming up during the break or leading into the tournament. Maybe, I'm guessing. I don't know if the youth sides are playing, but I have no idea what the issue is, if it's a result of the collaboration with Manchester City. But nonetheless, I wasn't bothered by. I wasn't. Like, I'm sure we're wanting him to play more, but like, he's got to probably come out at some point during this. This is a very, very hectic match. So then again, that's me being probably on the softer side of things. Yes. So that's probably it to say about the substitutions. I don't know that we need to beat that horse.
For sure. Yeah, Mark Anthony says having depth problems while also having starter problems is no bueno. Touche. Definitely not wrong. But going back to the point that you had brought up, 15 minutes ago now, because I go on that gigantic rant. What will the second half of the MLS season look like for Bradley Carnell? Will he still be the coach of the Philadelphia Union? What does the second half of the MLS season look like for the Union organization as a whole? And you had talked about it, Jose. This clip from Bradley Carnell, 34 seconds. We'll go ahead and play it right away. There is some feedback because I believe somebody forgot to mute their mic yesterday while Carnell was speaking, and it played an echo in the room. So this is Bradley Carnell. I do apologize for the echo, not my fault. But here's Bradley Carnell talking about a potential announcement coming up.
Yeah, I think anything regarding, what's where we are currently, I'm sure there will be some information in due course and some plan of action. But when you do give up, certain pieces and a little bit of the experience and, sort of a whole age gap from, a little bit of the guys who've been around the block once or twice to guide the young ones and to nurture the young ones. I think that's kind of what Nate's getting at. I think, we're excited for the break. I can tell you that much.
Talking about Fox Sports commentator Nate Bukaty, who was on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. Apparently, Bradley Carnell and Nate Bukaty and Devin Kerr. There's always, this is behind the scenes stuff, but Bradley Carnell, any coach in MLS, they talk to the media first, and then after they get done with the media, then they hop on a Zoom call with the commentators for the game. And so there was talk with Bradley Carnell, Devin, and Nate Bukaty, with Carnell saying that, hey, maybe we bit off more that we could chew with the players that we let go. And I think Carnell, and I saw the comment, they said, I believe it was Philly Rivers, saying, well, why didn't Carnell call out the depth at the beginning of the season? I think you're optimistic. Let's not forget that Carnell and the team spend, a month basically in Spain and Florida, Jose. He's around these guys, liking what he's seeing in the friendlies that they're playing. But then once it comes game time, you're staying optimistic. Things aren't going the way that you maybe thought they were going to go. But as things continue to stumble and fall, maybe you start to realize, maybe it was really a tall task asking some of these guys to replace the outgoing players. And so, yeah, I'm with you, Jose, circling what June 1st is going to be. We know that that's the last day of the suspension for sporting director Ernst Tanner. We still don't know if he's officially back with the Philadelphia Union. We know he was suspended through June 1st. Will the Union come out with an announcement saying Ernst Tanner is going to resume his role as sporting director here in Philadelphia? Will John Shear get that permanent sporting director tag? He is the interim. Did the Union go out and get a completely different sporting director? Does Bradley Carnell still have his job here in Philadelphia? Did the Union go out and sell players, make more signings? A lot of questions here, Jose. A lot of questions. We talked about it last year, Jose. It was never a busy week during the offseason. And I have a feeling, Jose, with the World Cup break here, it's not going to be quiet in Philadelphia in terms of Philadelphia Union news.
No, it's not. And yeah, I don't know what I want to be thoughtful. Yeah, maybe we should leave it at that. I don't want to get myself in trouble and others in trouble. I think it's going to be an interesting next couple of weeks in terms of busy and yeah, just super busy. I'm excited to talk to my father-in-law about, and I actually do need to text somebody else about something about this restorative practice, because I genuinely want to learn about what does restorative practice look like for sexual harassment. Like that's different than other behaviors that you would use restorative practice for, like I don't know, like fighting or something like that. So I'm intrigued about that. But to his comment and your point of maybe it was a lot to let some of those guys go. Is this the result of having I don't know, like not having a set director at the helm, right? Negotiating was probably different because Ernst Tanner wasn't around. I'm guessing that it just wasn't as smooth as they probably intended. And I am not making a push or a pull to have him or in or out, but Ernst Tanner is, he was often receiving votes for the best sporting director across the league because of how good he was negotiating because of how good he was with the help of others, including John Shear, identifying talent, right, and bringing in players. So it's, I don't want to sound hyperbolic, but when I say that June 1st is probably going to be like a pretty pivotal moment on not just this team this year, but probably for the next few years, or it could be a pretty pivotal moment. What are the options? Ernst Tanner comes back and nothing happens. Okay. They go into the market, they buy players, they sell players, maybe with better negotiating because he's back. Maybe. He doesn't come back. Someone slots in, maybe John Shear drops the interim title. It's the same machine that's there, right? Maybe Bradley Carnell gets let go. They put an interim, or maybe they already have somebody in mind. Okay, the players are still there, and they're probably going to lose players because of the sales due to, Olwethu Makhanya is not going to be around. I honestly expect that July 22nd comes around, Olwethu and Danley are not on that roster sheet. That's just my opinion, my thinking process. That's not me sharing news or breaking news. To this question, I think this would be a big league no-no since he has been without pay. I don't even know if he's able to truly communicate with the team. I know there was a little bit of a hoo-ha with him being pictured with Richie Graham one of the owners of the team.
Real quick, people listening on the RSS feed.
I'm sorry.
The question from Mark Anthony was, has Ernst not been running the team from afar? But continue.
Yes. I'm not sure that he can do that because that would be a big league violation. So I don't know that he wants to add to that. So all that to say that I really do believe, and again, I try not to be hyperbolic, but like, Jim Curtin leaving was a pretty big pivotal moment on the team for, obviously it seems like a year and a half in terms of like how important that was. Led to a supporter shield. I think that's a pretty substantial development based on the course of action, which was letting him go. I think June 1 and whatever decision Philadelphia ownership wants to do, whether it's to keep Ernst or have Ernst depart, or maybe there's an in-between, right? Maybe he has an advisory role, not a full-time role anymore. I don't know.
But I feel like that offers such bad optics, because if you have him as an advisory, then you're obviously going to go out there and bring a sporting director. And if Ernst Tanner's an advisor, wouldn't you think Ernst Tanner's still calling the shots? And what's the point of me being a sporting director if he's still on the board, knowing that he had the power, knowing that he's well respected within this organization with what he's done, as you were talking about with part owner Richie Graham being on that ski trip in Europe, I would imagine it was, with Ernst Tanner. Not a great look. For me, Jose, it's either you keep Tanner or you don't. I can't see him being as an advisor. I just don't think that's a great look, because does he have the ego, Jose, to take a step back saying, well, I'm not the sporting director anymore. I'll advise you, but I'm not the sporting director. Does he have the ego? And I don't know him personally, but if I put myself in his shoes, I don't know if I would have the ego, Jose, to say, well, I was a sporting director in this club for 8 seasons. And now I'm taking a back seat. You're bringing somebody else, but you still want me helping you make decisions? I don't know if I would have the ego, Jose, not to have a bigger say and not have the title. That's just me personally.
I don't disagree with you. I certainly wouldn't discount it either. It's an option, I think. Is it a viable option? I don't know. Does it add more complications and confusion to the machine? I would think so. Because who is ultimately the shot caller, right? So I know we got to wrap soon. I will be my ears to the ground listening. Would it be something that I ultimately go on and report? I'm not sure, but I would be lying to all whatever many people we had watching throughout the stream and listening. I am so interested on what these conversations are now because it genuinely almost feels, as you listen to Bradley Carnell, he is talking like a man that already knows his future, whether that is that he's gone, whether that is that he's back and Ernst Tanner is back. But it seems like the way it's being talked about, it's that it's already been communicated, whatever this due course and these plans for where we are. It genuinely sounds like something has already been arranged, and it's just waiting for that June 1 sanction, whatever you want to call it, to just be lifted and just be able to hit the ground running. So whatever that is, we'll see. You guys will find out when you find out. I might find out a little bit sooner. I may not be able to talk about it, and that's okay too, but I'm eager to discuss it with you all.
The last thing I'll say, if Bradley Carnell is let go, I think that's a horrible decision by the organization when he literally won your supporter shield last season. Nobody expected that to happen with Jim Curtin departing. Yeah, you expect the Union to be a playoff team, but he comes out, exceeds all expectations. You get rid of 4 key players. I don't think any manager is going to have much more success than what Bradley Carnell and his coaching staff and these players have showed 15 games in. But then, Jose, on top of all that, Carnell's doing exactly what he was brought in to do. I said this last night on AAT Sports, and I'll make it quick, and I'll say it here on the show. Ernst Tanner said, we want to get back to playing our style of play, pressing. The Union are doing that. Maybe not at the levels they were last season, but they're still playing that. And I know Bradley Carnell says that the data is showing that they're putting up higher pressing numbers than they did last season, but other teams are pressing more. I'm not going to dispute the data. But he was brought in to develop players, to give young players a chance. And he continues to do that, Jose. We see Kellen LeBlanc, and granted, yeah, probably part of that's because of the injury to Indiana Vasilov, but he signs a short-term deal, gets put on the bench. He's giving young guys a chance. Davi Vasquez, Sal Olivas, Frankie Westfield, Kevin Sullivan continues to play. We've seen all these players make debuts, given chances under Bradley Carnell, Malik Jakupovic. He's doing exactly what Ernst wanted from their manager.
Mm-hmm.
How I know the results aren't there, but you were so transparent in saying you want to be a developmental club. We want to get back to playing this style of play. He's doing exactly that. The results aren't there. I think it's maybe a little bit unfair to him, but it would be a terrible, terrible decision. There is a question here, Jose from Fern, real quick. He said, during the break, will the union be training in Chester, or does Ivory Coast take the facilities? Now, I believe that there is a league mandated 20 days, if I'm not mistaken, in the CBA that the players have to be away from during this break, and then after those 20 days, they'll come back. And so we will see the union resume training during the World Cup after those 20 days. Bradley Carnell said there are friendlies scheduled against some MLS opponents, if I'm not mistaken. I believe he said 2 Eastern Conference teams and then 1 Western Conference team. So they do have friendlies scheduled. They do have games planned, and we'll see if we ever get told who those opponents are. But yeah, let's see what happens. So real quick, Jose, an hour 16 in. I know I want to talk about it. Best union players so far in the first half of the season. Go ahead and let me know, people in the comments, whether it be in the RSS feed or people watching live on YouTube. Your best players so far.
Easily Frankie Westfield and Cabin. Easily difference makers for this team. When Frankie's not playing, it's a completely toothless kind of team. It feels like, anyways. And Cabin just growing into his own, growing into his game, and again, just watching what he was doing with some of these plays last game against Inter Miami, just really continuing to impress. The most creative player out there, and I feel like that may not be matching with the play style and the squad that's around him. So he's somehow making it work, which is the most impressive part, I would say. But those are my 2. How about yours? And that was quick fire.
Yeah, and it probably should be with us. I'm approaching 10:30. I agree with Pyra. Says Milan Alaski, Kevin Sullivan for me, and Frankie Westfield. I think Jesus Bueno could have been on there if he would have stayed healthy, not got injured. When he played, he looked fantastic. But yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, other than those 3 players, I can't think of many more players. I think Anello could have been that player too, but he was injured for so much of the first half because of that hamstring injury against Atlanta United on March 14th.
I agree. He had the opportunity, and the times that he was coming in, even as a substitute, and I appreciate him having a little fire in his belly, actually, from being substituted this against this Inter Miami. I kept on looking, right, for who's going to mouth off at Carnell once again, the way that Cabin did. But I think they probably learned their lesson, or they were talked to about maybe not doing that anymore. So Anea would have been a good shout had he remained healthy, and maybe one of them, or whoever's around come Leagues Cup, maybe they will use that tournament to show off what they can bring to this team. As I don't know, quick like 3-minute aside, at what point do you just kind of pull the plug and start building for the sprint season / the start of the new calendar? I would think that right after Leagues Cup, if that goes not so great, you kind of just wrap it up. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, it is MLS, Jose. We know it doesn't matter what place you finish in, as long as you finish in a playoff spot. Doesn't matter what your record is, as long as you finish in a playoff spot, because anything can happen. With there being no relegation, teams don't necessarily have to fire the managers. But we'll see what happens. I know it's going to be busy. I'm expecting some announcements, and I think they're going to be quick fire announcements too. I think we're going to get a lot of information here in the next couple weeks. The comment section, Jose, are fully convinced that you know what's going to happen. They really, really, really want you to go ahead and let them know what you know. And you guys know how Jose works. He doesn't do that unless he's 100%. Jose's been 100%. Don't want to jinx him. He quadruple 5 times, 6 times, checks with different sources. And there's a reason why Jose is Jose and does not miss. So, yeah.
I do have an announcement, actually.
You do? I don't even know this.
It's not very the only announcement I can make is that on May 29, I will be playing Mina the Hollower on my Nintendo Switch because I just placed my pre-order. So I'll be playing the latest Yacht Club game, Mina the Hollower, on May 29th.
Oh, Jose.
I'm an idiot, man. I'm sorry. I'm an idiot.
People on the Arsis feed are not going to be happy with you. Man, do I have any announcements that I can say coming up? I'll be back at Subaru Park faster or sooner than I expected. So that should be fun. Man, I was not expecting that, Jose. Absolutely killing Pyra. Good job, Jose. But
man.
on a serious note, Jose, anything that you can go ahead and plug, anything you want to plug, anything that I know we talked about the World Cup you have coming up here in a couple weeks. I'd imagine you'll be at Philadelphia at Lincoln Financial Stadium a couple times. I know Croatia, Ghana, you'll be there for that stadium or for that game with Peter Musa and Pasalic, FC Dallas, and Orlando City players participating in the World Cup. So I am looking forward to your World Cup coverage, Jose, and I look forward to hopefully getting to at least one game. If I was going to get to a game, it would be that game, 100%.
Yeah, no, nothing immediately to share. I think a lot of work is on a lot of irons in the fire, I think is the saying, with, sending out messages, trying to get people to come on and talk with us, which I think with a lot of the people that we would try to get on, they're all in an international break themselves. So a little bit more difficult than usual to get a hold of them. So hopefully at least 1 or 2, maybe 3 people that we can try to get together. I can announce I will not be doing full-on Spanish interviews for a little bit. My fingers still hurt from translating all 40-plus minutes of Jan Glavinovic. But excited for the MLS duty, excited to pick up my credential tomorrow, actually, to Lincoln Financial, at Lincoln Financial for the tournament. So I'll have my little plastic thing with me and my lanyard. Should everything go well last time, they're like, "Oh, is your passport real?" I was like, "Yeah, it's real. Like, it's not a fake. This is not a fake passport." So I'm excited to see it. But I'm more intrigued about the city. Can it handle? Will it handle? Will it do? Will it take advantage of the opportunity that is to host a tournament of this magnitude and bring this many internationals in? I don't know. I'm excited for that. Will we be doing shows during the World Cup? I think we might do a few. Obviously, we'll have the stuff that we're working on, but we should probably try to talk about Danley and
Makhanya, maybe.
What's that?
And potentially Makhanya.
Makhanya, maybe a little bit about Rick, just like, like, I don't know. Actually, that's kind of a stretch. No, it's been weird, Todd, right? To not have as many Union players going international duty the way that it was like clockwork with Martinez and maybe Bueno here and there. And Bizo going also into international duty. Certainly Danley. So neither here or there. Nothing immediately outside of, again, playing Mina the Hollower on May 29th. Man, I've been waiting for this game like 5-6 years. You can't blame me for being so excited about that.
With the jokes tonight, Jose. With the jokes tonight. Mark Anthony says, Free Kick Pod, meet up in South Philly for World Cup watch parties. I mean, maybe that's something we can discuss. I don't even want to think what the travel situation's going to be like getting into the city. I mean, I don't even know what I'm going to do. I'm definitely not driving into the city. I guess I would have to find a place to drive in and then take the subway train, whatever you guys call it in Philadelphia, and then walk around Philadelphia. But I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully I can get up to Philadelphia for either a watch party or a game. And we'll go ahead and let you guys know. We do plan on doing shows, and we'll stay in contact. We'll go ahead and leave an announcement if we don't go live. If we're going to do a watch party or something, we'll go ahead and and leave, like, we can leave comments on YouTube. But Philly Rivers, park at Chester Transportation Center. That's the way in. It's a spot.
Maybe you can park at the Brinton Lakes Rally House and somehow find public transit all the way down to Chester. And while you're there, shop for the latest and greatest of Philadelphia sporting goods at the Brinton Lakes Rally House.
Not a sponsor of the show.
Not a sponsor. Hashtag not ad.
But great customer service. Great top tier customer service at that rally house. That rally house only. Can't speak for the other ones, but from that one, you get top tier customer service. That is for sure. But if you guys aren't following the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, follow at Free Kick Pod, wherever you get your podcast of The Free Kick. Make sure to check out the YouTube channel live, every single podcast, youtube.com/Free Kick Pod. Also, going to be a very, very, very long, lengthy 2 videos of the goals breakdown. It's going to be a fun project, but I have like 2 months to go ahead and get that video out. So hopefully the Inter Miami bots absolutely just flock in to watch these videos. And hopefully you guys enjoy it. A lot to break down from last night's game. And then if you guys want to check out my writing, goals breakdown video, or podcast all in one place, thefreekick.substack.com. Again, latest article came out this afternoon. A lot of what we talked about on the show is in that article. So, yeah, go ahead, give it a read. Again, I don't think Bradley Carnell should be fired. Let him see out the season. And the last thing, Jose, I guess I'll leave us on is this fantastic moment between Jeremy Raffanello and Jovan Lukic. The shock on Jovan Lukic. Cannot believe he is going in at center back. I mean, this is a great moment, Jose. I'm so glad that Jovan gave us what could potentially be his last moment in a Philadelphia Union jersey, with the rumors of him being linked to Leeds United in Celta, Vigo, and Spain. But with that said, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.